The rhythmic beep of a heart monitor was the only sound that pierced the sterile silence of the presidential suite at Halcyon Private Medical Center. Outside the floor-to-ceiling glass windows, the city of San Francisco shimmered under a bruised dawn, but inside the room, time seemed to stand still. Jordan Ellis lay still in the hospital bed, his chiseled features relaxed into an unnatural calm. A thin red scar streaked across his left temple, just beneath the neatly shaved line of his hair. It was the only visible mark from the private jet crash that nearly claimed his life 18 days ago. To the world, Jordan Ellis was in a coma, but the truth, known to no one, not even the most trusted specialists hired to oversee his care, was far more complicated. He had woken up 3 days after the crash, fully alert, painfully aware, and utterly silent. Jordan Ellis, at 43, was more than just another billionaire. He was a symbol, a black tech mogul who'd shattered ceilings in Silicon Valley, founding Ellis Core Technologies, a firm now valued at over $40 billion. From smart infrastructure to clean energy systems, Jordan's innovations had reshaped industries, but none of it had prepared him for this. Lying motionless while the people closest to him plotted his downfall, his breathing remained slow and regulated, every blink calculated, because in that stillness he was listening for the truth behind his crash, behind the betrayal. And the betrayal was closer than he ever imagined. Behind the thick glass door to his suite, 2 familiar voices carried just enough for his sharp ears to catch. "We can't keep waiting, Clara," said the male voice. Calm, measured, too confident. Nathan Ellis, his half-brother, younger by 6 years, and now vice president of Ellis Core. A short silence. "I know," came the voice of his wife, Clara Ellis, once a bright star in high society circles, now a shadow with sharp intentions. "But the board is getting restless. The investors are calling daily. We need to move, Nathan. The incapacitation clause can't just sit there unused." Jordan's heart rate fluttered, but not enough for the monitors to pick up. He focused, internalizing every word. Nathan's voice dropped lower, but it was still clear through the glass. "1 more week. The final report from Dr. Livingston is already drafted. The next board meeting will trigger the clause. You'll take over as interim CEO. I'll oversee the transition. We agreed on this, Clara. Don't get nervous now." "Have you dealt with Diana yet?" Clara asked. Jordan's stomach turned. Diana Wu, his attorney, his closest advisor, the one who had guided him through every IPO, every hostile takeover, every obstacle thrown at him as a black entrepreneur in a white-dominated world. "She's insisting on seeing the original test results," Clara said, a note of worry creeping in. "Says something doesn't add up." "She won't be a problem," Nathan replied, cold and certain. "A complaint was filed with the state bar this morning. Someone found falsified contracts in her office. Anonymous tip. She'll be too busy defending her license to sniff around." Jordan's fingers twitched under the blanket. Damn them. They weren't just after his company. They were cutting off everyone who could help him. Diana, his legal shield? One by one, his circle of trust was being dismantled. The door hissed open. Footsteps, lighter this time, measured, rhythmic. Not Clara, not Nathan, not one of the usual nurses with their fake cheery tones. A new voice, clear, steady, no performance. "Good evening, Mr. Ellis," the woman said. Her voice had a slight accent. "My name is Leah Tran. I'm your night nurse for this week." Jordan registered a subtle scent. Lavender. Clean. Not synthetic. Real. Leah moved efficiently, checking monitors, adjusting the IV line, jotting down vitals. Her hands didn't tremble like the younger interns. She knew what she was doing. "Your vitals are stable," she murmured more to herself than him. And then, unexpectedly, She sat. The chair beside his bed creaked slightly. Then silence. Just the ticking of the wall clock and the faint hum of the machines. "I don't know if you can hear me, Mr. Ellis," Leah began, her voice quieter now, confessional. "But I need to tell you something." Jordan's attention sharpened. "I wasn't supposed to be here," she continued. "Your previous nurse resigned. Last minute, no warning. They said it was personal reasons. But I've worked in critical care for 10 years. People don't walk away from a high-paying, high-profile case like this. Not without cause." Jordan didn't move, but inside a fire began to glow. "I reviewed your chart last night," Leah whispered. "There are inconsistencies. Your sedation levels off the charts, far beyond protocol for someone with mild cerebral trauma. And your reflex responses, they don't match the standard indicators for coma." A pause. Jordan imagined her leaning closer. "I'm not just a nurse," she confessed. "I'm a certified forensic neurophysiologist. I specialize in detecting medical fraud, insurance cases, corporate malpractice, end-of-life disputes. I've seen a dozen cases of deliberate sedation to delay or deny recovery." Jordan's chest ached, not from injury, but from how close he'd come to being erased. "I think someone's trying to keep you from waking up," Leah said, "and I think it has nothing to do with medicine." She stood, moved to the IV stand, adjusted something with practiced ease. "I've started lowering your sedation. Gradually, no one will notice. If I'm right, you'll start regaining more control in a few days. When that happens, I'll be ready." The door opened again. This time, a man's voice. Detached, clinical. "Just checking vitals," Leah said brightly, professional, neutral, her voice now masked. Dr. Livingston, the man forging the reports, the one Jordan would deal with soon enough. Jordan listened as the door closed again. His fingers trembled beneath the sheet. Someone knew, and more importantly, someone cared. Leah Tran, whoever she really was. She'd seen the truth when no one else dared to look. She thought he was still unconscious. She had no idea that behind his closed eyes, Jordan Ellis was already planning the most important comeback of his life. And he wouldn't just return. He'd rise, stronger, smarter, and with a vengeance that would make those who tried to bury him wish they'd succeeded. Part 2. Leah, the unexpected ally. Leah Tran closed the door to Jordan Ellis's suite with quiet precision. Her face composed, her heartbeat far less so. The weight of what she'd just done settled over her like a lead apron. Reducing a coma patient's sedation without formal authorization could end her career. And if she was wrong, if what she saw in the records had a legitimate explanation, then she was gambling everything for nothing. But deep down, Leah knew she wasn't wrong. Too many things didn't add up. The excessive doses of midazolam and dexmedetomidine, the reflex test results overwritten by hand, the odd resignation of the previous nurse just before the arrival of the final neurological evaluation. It wasn't medical oversight, it was manipulation, and it was deliberate. She took a deep breath and looked around the empty hallway before slipping back to the nurse's station. There, under the guise of paperwork, she opened her secure cloud log and entered new notes under a false name. It wasn't the first time she'd had to work like this, quietly, in shadows, collecting evidence no one wanted to exist. This wasn't just another case. This was different. This was Jordan Ellis, a man who'd built a tech empire from nothing, a man whose innovations in sustainable energy had put him in the crosshairs of the fossil fuel establishment. A man she had admired from afar for his brilliance, his boldness, and his uncompromising ethical stance. And now he was alone in a hospital bed, betrayed and silenced by those closest to him. That thought kept her awake through the shift. She checked on him every hour, adjusting his IV in microdoses, lowering the sedatives incrementally. She began whispering updates into the quiet, just in case, telling him what day it was, what she'd found, what she planned to do. It felt ridiculous at first, but something about him, the faint tension in his jaw, the subtle twitches beneath the eyelids, made her believe he was listening. She just didn't expect him to answer. It happened on the third night. She was adjusting his pillow when she asked quietly, "Can you hear me?" A pause. Then, unmistakably, his index finger twitched. Twice. Leah froze. Her breath caught in her throat. "Was that—" she whispered. Another twitch. One. Deliberate. Her eyes widened. "You're conscious," she breathed. "You've been awake this whole time?" A slow blink. Once. "Yes." Leah staggered back a step. Her pulse pounded in her ears. She looked toward the door, then back at him. This changed everything. She wasn't trying to save a patient anymore. She was working with a man who had already decided to fight back. "I need to be sure no one sees us," she whispered. "If they find out you're awake before we have proof, they'll sedate you again. Or worse." He blinked once. Understood. That night, while the rest of the hospital slept, Leo returned with a makeshift alphabet board, laminated letters on a flip chart, like one she'd used with stroke victims. They worked out a system. Blink once to confirm, twice to reject. She pointed to letters. He blinked slowly, building one word at a time. It was grueling, but it was communication, and it gave Jordan Ellis a voice again. On their first night, using the board, he spelled out his first full phrase, "Plane was sabotaged." Leah's stomach dropped. She looked at him, then whispered, "Do you know who did it?" "Clara, Nathan." Leah's lips parted. His wife, his half-brother, the two people who should have been by his side. "Why?" she asked softly. It took him 10 minutes to spell the next word. Solnet. Leah frowned. She'd heard the name in whispers, a classified Ellis Corps initiative, rumored to offer decentralized, ultra-low-cost solar energy. It was supposed to be revolutionary, borderline disruptive, and extremely dangerous for anyone invested in traditional utilities. "You kept Solnet hidden from the board, didn't you?" she guessed. One blink. Smart. That meant only a handful of people would have known the full scope and seen the threat to the existing power structure. They tried to stop the project by killing you. Another blink. Leah exhaled slowly. That means they're not done. If they think the board will transfer control to them, they'll try to bury Solnet for good. "Save Diana," Jordan spelled next. Leah nodded. "I'll try, but she's under investigation. False files." "I believe you," she said quietly, "but proving it won't be easy." They worked through the night, strategizing letter by letter. She would continue reducing his sedation until he could move again. She would begin collecting data, recording conversations, building a case, and she would protect him at all costs. Jordan's resolve never wavered. Leah saw it in every deliberate blink, every twitch of his jaw. He wasn't just surviving, he was planning. By dawn, she'd memorized the rhythm of his language. Jordan Ellis was no longer alone. Later that day, Nathan Ellis entered the room with his usual theatrical concern. He leaned over the bed, murmuring platitudes, checking the machines, as if he knew what they meant. "Poor brother," Nathan said. Still unresponsive, "the board will be heartbroken." Jordan remained motionless. Behind Nathan, Leah appeared, clipboard in hand, neutral as a mirror. "Vitals stable," she reported. "Sedation within normal range. No changes." Nathan nodded, barely acknowledging her. "If anything changes, call me first." "I always do," she said. He didn't notice the trace of steel in her tone. That night, Leah whispered into the darkness, "You were right about him. He doesn't even try to pretend he cares." Jordan blinked once. "I've started digging," she added. "Something strange came up. The sedative batches used in your IV? They don't match the hospital pharmacy inventory. That means someone is bringing in unauthorized drugs." A pause. She looked at him. "I'm going to need help. Someone who can confirm what we're seeing. Someone with credentials stronger than mine." She waited for a blink of approval. One blink. Leah nodded. She already had a name in mind. The next night she returned with a visitor. "This is Dr. Wunji," she said quietly, locking the door behind her. "She teaches forensic neurology at Stanford. I told her everything." The Korean neurologist studied Jordan with calm, analytical eyes. She moved closer, placing a penlight in front of his eyes. "Mr. Ellis," she said softly, "if you can follow my voice." "Blink once." He blinked. She looked at Leah, then back to Jordan. "No coma patient reacts to verbal stimuli like that. Not after 18 days. His oculomotor response is fully intact. Pupillary light reflex is clean. Respiratory pattern is too regular for deep sedation." She straightened. "As we suspected, this is a pharmacologically induced suppression. He should have been conscious at least a week ago." "Can we prove it?" Leah asked. Dr. Yunji reached into her bag. "I have a portable EEG scanner with memory logging. No hospital access required. We'll do it quietly, but you need to keep him under for 2 more days. No sudden revelations yet." Leah turned to Jordan. "Ready for the next phase?" This time, he didn't blink. He opened his eyes fully, and for the first time in weeks, he smiled.